So you don't have a startup, but you want to get involved in the startup community. Let me tell you how. Am I recording? Okay, cool. Hi. That was too peppy. Hi, Rick Turoczy, your friend from Silicon Florist and Pi and Built and all those things where I answer the questions. Can you hear that bird, or is that just me? Okay. For you, we did a big, long startup-y Q&A session, and so what I've been trying to do is like create smaller segments so that you didn't have to sit through a long hour of responses where we can just like get right to the question and make this more short form. So if you're, I swear, can you hear that bird? Okay. So what we're going to do here is um, quickly go through a single question. So one of the questions I get most often is, why won't you let my startup into the accelerator? And the question today is, I don't have a startup. How do I get involved in the startup community? Because I feel like I have something to give back. Maybe it's through mentorship. You can mentor. You should mentor. You can do it. A lot of people don't think they can mentor, but they can because you have a lot of knowledge and common sense, which is quite frankly only common to you. Maybe it's as a potential co-founder or team member. Um, just how do you get engaged? Where do you find people in the startup community? So we're kind of going to kind of talk through that and hopefully provide some resources that you'll find valuable. Some of them online, some of them will be virtual events during this weird time that we're in. And then if you find that valuable, or if you've watched some of the other videos of the segmented little time chunky things, please consider hitting subscribe and maybe the little bell thing, because that'll let you know when we upload a new question and answer. Also, maybe leave a like or a comment. Or if there's a question you would like us to respond to and you don't have the time or energy to join us for a crowdcast, which is understandable because it's really just this. Feel free to leave a question in the comments and maybe we'll just record a special YouTube video thingamajig just for you and your comment or question. Somebody else asked like a month ago. You've got a much better question. So why don't you leave that in the comments? So if that's something that appeals to you and you got the time to do that, just type a question down there and then maybe other people will upvote it. I don't know, I'm not making any promises, but if they do, then they'll upvote it, it'll bubble to the top and we'll go, well, we should probably answer that question or comment because people said we should. All right, cool. Without any further delay, let's get into the answer to this: how to get involved in the startup community if you don't have a startup. Cool. That's a great question. As I was saying before, there's, sometimes it's hard to figure out how to engage with the startup community. And especially now that we're all kind of sheltering in place in our own homes, that can become even more restrictive and confusing. So, what I always encourage folks to think about is areas where they have a skill or expertise and they are willing to kind of provide that skill or expertise. And that could be through mentorship. I'm convinced anyone can be a mentor. I think some people, I have a great deal of respect for mentors and people who take the time to mentor, but I think some folks discount their ability to mentor. I think a lot of folks in the professional environment have forgotten how truly talented and creative and insightful they are because they do the same job day in and day out, and they start to assume that their common sense is common, and it's not. And so mentoring for programs is a really great way to get involved in the startup community and kind of get you exposure to all of the things that are happening here. Once the world kind of settles into new normal, I think volunteering for events, be they virtual or eventually in the future back in real life kind of events, can be a really great way to get engaged with the community, both locally programmed and managed events, but also, during the summer, a lot of either national or international startup and tech events wind up happening in town. So that can be another really good way to get involved. Again, I've kind of already alluded to it, but the Portland Startup Slack can be a really easy way. And I think Ron or somebody, dropped a link in there. If you go to pdxslack.com, that will just let you in to the Slack. So it's got an open invite. That's a great place to just start poking around. There are hundreds of channels in there. But going back to the mentorship, there are a number of programs in town. I mentioned Portland State Business Accelerator, PI. There's also WeWork Labs that does a lot of mentoring for people. Accelerate Fund has a bunch of mentors that help them. So there are other programs you can look to see if your area of expertise matches their need, but that's a really great way to get involved. And then this may sound weird, but it's from back in the old days of the Portland startup community. Twitter, like folks are super active on Twitter and kind of remain so. So that could be a really easy way to engage in the community. I've seen folks recently just kind of, that's become their on-ramp to the community, and just helping get into conversations there or amplifying content can be a really compelling way to participate with a very kind of low barrier to entry. So hopefully that answers that.